പോരാനെ പോരാനെ കാത്തോടെ തൂത്തൽ പോലെ പോരാനെ പോരാനെ പോവാമത്ത പോരാനെ.
एंज न कर तू औंज न कर सुन कुड़िए ज्यादा उड़िया न कर लोका दी ना चंगी नजर बस कहंदे रहंदे ने तू हर वेले कहंदे रहंदे ने मुंह विच जो आ जांदा है बस कहंदे रहंदे ने.
Our change maker on The Female Voice, our look at conversations for change, is singer, songwriter, artist Neha Bhasin. Neha, like so many other women, has been at the receiving end of cyberbullying, of trolling, of online threats, of sexualized violence. And many of us fight in our own ways. She has decided to fight through her music. On our Conversations for Change, in this episode of The Female Voice, let me welcome to the program Neha Bhasin. Neha, welcome, and it's a pleasure having you on. Let me start by asking you a little bit about what made you actually put to music your own experience with cyberbullying. All of us as women go through it. All of us who are opinionated women with an opinion, go through this every single day. What happened with you that finally was the tipping point that you decided you had to take a position against this?
Let me start off by saying thank you so much for having me on your show. It's an absolute pleasure and an honor. Of course, we've all been fans. I've been a fan of you since I was a little girl. And so I think this fight has been going on since I realized that I was a female, basically, which is basically just before your teenage. And I feel like every woman and man made me feel like I'm now going to be growing breasts and men are looking at me. And for some reason, it always felt like it was my fault. Starting from school, I was very, in Hindi, what they say, chulbuli. So if boys stared at me, I enjoyed the attention. If I wanted to have a boyfriend, I had one. So I think I was very much in sync with just my primal nature of just being a human being, and just being a woman or a girl. And I realized that even once I came into the industry, I was constantly told to dress down if I want to be taken seriously. So constantly being told to singer hai, heroine nahi hai, heroine mat ban. Ladki hai, ladki ban ke rahe. And of course, a lot of slut shaming along the way. Every time I tried to dress up sexily, which I think is very natural for a pop star, and I feel in absolute celebration for my body, I felt shutted down, shunned by people. I've been taken off live stages of very big brands and colleges and not given a reason except for the fact that you're not appropriately dressed for our platform. And for many years, though I tried to rebel in my own way, I kept quiet. I think for me, like you said, the tip of the iceberg was recently getting very massively trolled for having an opinion about something. And I just feel that even if my opinion was not well received, the way I was shamed for it, the way I was taken down for it, the way I was silenced for it was like, I'm a woman, I shouldn't have a voice. And by the way, even girls and women do that. It's not just men. People feel that trolling, cyberbullying, and slut shaming is only something that men do. I think the way women shame women, it makes you just curl within your soul, I think it bothers me a lot more than when men do it. So I think it just came to a point where I said कि अगर आपको लगता है कि हम बेशरम हैं, तो हम बेशरम बन जाते हैं इस बार. And for all the discomfort you put me through, maybe now it's my turn to do the same back to you. So I think that's my answer. That was my final answer after 3 decades.
So Neha, one of the really fascinating things I think you've touched upon is the space that should be available to women to embrace our sexuality, but not having that sexuality actually defined by the male gaze or by the world's idea of what is sexy. And I think a lot of women struggle with that. I know that in my life, I would want the space to construct my own idea of what is attractive, what is sexual, what is sexy, right? So I'm just wondering whether that's been a conflict with you, because it also changes from when you're 18 to when you're in your 30s. I'm 48 now. It's still an ongoing project for me. So when you speak about when you speak about kind of embracing your sexuality and having other people find you inappropriate, what have been your own struggles in defining that sexuality?
biggest struggle is putting this burden of virtue on my shoulders of being just because I want to be a sexual being or I want to be sexy or I want to celebrate my body, it means that basically I'm a bad girl. So this whole good girl syndrome is something I don't understand. I've been married to my husband for 4 years. I was with him for 7 years before that. So I've been in one relationship for 10 years. I'm 100% monogamous in my relationship, but I like to enjoy my youth. I like to enjoy the way I look because maybe I wouldn't be able to do it as much when I'm 60. And I don't think about it so much as people make me think about it. This is the sad part, that the burden is actually external. It's not internal. If people didn't have so much judgment, if people didn't bother my parents so much about it since we were kids, I think that I would be okay. I would be okay to any extent to enjoy my, just my womanhood. Because for me, it's again a more external celebration versus me making choices in my life. Like I just said that I have no problem with people who are polygamous or no problem. But that's the choice I have made, that I like to look sexy, but I like to come back home to my man. So, sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, जो देगी culture है ना इंडिया में, कि सड़क पे चलते हुए बोल जाते लोग देगी, but it's like, it's like they're an open invitation. I always say when somebody is sitting on a table next to you and you're ordering your food and you're hungry, do you go and pounce on their food? You don't do that, right? You control your urge. I think we need to teach the men and women in our country, especially the men in our country, this burden needs to be theirs more than ours. And this whole, I have nothing against women who want to be more coy or who want to have, wear more Indian clothes or traditional. I have no problem. My mom has done it all her life. I'm just saying this is my choice. And there are women like me who want to be that way. So just let us be as I let you all be. So, but I get your struggle because I still, you suddenly coy, you feel like this bad girl just because of what people are telling you, and I'm just trying to shed that burden 100%.
I mean, I have to say I've never been coy in my life, but I think I think it's more about not being convinced that how we imagine our sexuality is our own choice, and how much of it is cultural conditioning, how much of it is mass media.
Yes.
But even that explanation that you gave, that I've been in one relationship for X years, I'm monogamous, these are explanations that women are expected to give. These are explanations that in particular sexy women are expected to give. These are not questions that are asked of sexy men or attractive men. So, I kind of feel that you don't owe anybody an answer for your personal choices except yourself. But I was intrigued to hear that, people have been telling your parents things all your life. So first, tell us a little bit about your family. When you decided to be an artist, how did your parents react? Did you have to fight them? Did you have to fight your family? What did the neighbors say? Was there a Hauji log kya kahenge moment in your life?
So, sorry, I laugh a lot because that's my way of dealing with...
Please laugh.
Of course.
Please laugh.
Please laugh. I'm a bit of a giggler. I've always been punished in schools for it, but I think when I'm nervous, I giggle a lot. So
Go for it.
I have to say that my mother is a very beautiful combination of a woman who is has been sort of traditional, but also a feminist, liberal, and rebellion in her brain. Though she will never admit to it 100%. We tell her कि हम आपके तीनों बच्चे ऐसे कैसे निकल सकते हैं if you're not like that. It's like the wings that she didn't completely have to fly. I think she gave them to us. She passed them on to us. So we were kids where we were allowed to wear, and this is a big deal in Delhi, we were allowed to wear shorts. We were allowed to wear makeup up to a certain point. I bought my first pair of heels when I was 13. So, though my mom was very strict, you have to come home by 10 o'clock and, all of that. But my mom was still always by our side. She always had her back. She fought with my father when my father said, "Apni betiyon ko model banayegi kya?" which is a very typical thing that, Indian fathers say. So my mother was like, "Ki unko jo banna hai, wo banenge bade hoke." And I had a passion for music since I was a child. I was very fascinated by the Western pop stars because I started watching them when I was 9, Michael Jackson being the first, and then Madonna, Celine Dion, and many of them. So I used to always grow up and I'll a long slit, and for me it was the whole thing. It was never just singing, it was the whole drama of being a pop star. So I have to say that my parents, though they were always worried, they were scared, but they backed me up. They didn't always agree with my choices, but they backed me up. I made a lot of mistakes. I dated the wrong men, but they backed me up. They always, they always had that one thread. My mother used to always say,
I want to ask you, who has not dated the wrong men? Please show me this person who has not dated the wrong men.
Yeah, I think it's very important to do that. To hopefully
100%.
find maybe the
or maybe
right
never.
men or women.
Or maybe or women, yeah, but maybe never. Yeah, go ahead. But go on.
So, of course, my father used to be very scared of the fact that I'm a ladaka, as you say in Punjabi, ladaki hai. They were very afraid because I fought a case when I was 23 for my rights. So I've always been a bit of a fighter, more than a bit. So they were always worried for me, but sunate bhi the, thoda darate bhi the, lekin hamesha साथ में खड़े रहते थे. Where the colony is concerned, yes, a lot of people used to say बचपन में कि आपके घर के आसपास तो देखो लड़के ही मंडराते रहते हैं. But they never realized that we were being eve-teased, And my father used to get bogged down by things like these. But then he had feisty women in his house. And as we grew up, we just kind of silenced our dad a little bit and brought him on our side. So, abhi kai log hai jo bolte hain, unfortunately, my father passed away 2 years ago. And, some people try to attack me with that. They try to say that, oh, your father would be so ashamed of who you are. But I think my parents were always, always, always proud of the three of us for the choices we made, for the people we become, and for the people we aspire to be. And I truly believe that it's parents like that that bring upon secure children in this world. And I think that's what we need. I think all this hate comes from a lot of insecurity that parents put onto for example, I had to cut my umbilical cord with my mother. I remember my therapist once telling me when I think this is about like maybe 10 to 12 years ago, that he said, आपके ड्रीम्स बियॉन्ड से जितने हैं, लेकिन अपनी माँ, तुम्हारी माँ क्या सोचती है तुम्हारे कपड़ों के बारे में, वही तुम उसको ही शेड नहीं कर पा रहे हो. तो दुनिया तो बहुत बोलेगी, उसकी सुनने की हिम्मत कैसे आएगी? So, it's just...
Yeah. It's actually like as we grow older, we become our parents. I find that that you start with this massive rebellion and then we become some maladjusted versions of our parents. But I want to ask you, your song is about cyberbullying. I want you to talk a little bit about what you've experienced in that bullying. I know that you just mentioned that your father died. You posted a photograph of him. Usko bhi nahi chhodenge log. Us pe bhi piche pad jayenge ki, "Arey, your father would have been ashamed of you." Then you sort of defended a fellow artist, Badshah, who was accused of, paying for his praise online. Then you kind of dared to say that you didn't much care for the South Korean BTS teeny boppy sensation, and you were trolled for that. What actually happened? What was it like? And I asked you this as someone who's trolled on a daily basis, who's developed a moti chamri to it. I really don't care. But that doesn't mean that it's okay. I don't care, but I know any number of women who have gone off these platforms because they can't take the toxicity. So I want you to talk about that experience, how sexualized the threats are, how sexualized the language is, the nature of the violence is sexual violence. So start from what happened, how it happened, and what people said.
So this was on Twitter last year, July of 2019. And I jumped in a fight where I probably didn't belong, but I have always had a thing against trolling. And for me, it was just that. I saw Badshah trending because his song Pagal Hai was doing, I think it had broken some record. And there's a band called BTS, as you just mentioned, who actually holds that record. I had no idea about that. So I think the fans were trolling him. And on my own timeline, without tagging anybody, just tagging Badshah, I said that, Tiger, go on, we are here for you. And I think my biggest fight at that point was, I said it rather carelessly. I'm not going to deny that because unfortunately our words are always blown out of proportion. But I think my fight was the same as my fight, that this whole thing of ki Indians can never have a record, Indians cannot be international. I stood up for him because of that. And I said that just the way the Korean industry, the K-pop industry is spending billions of dollars making K-pop a worldwide sensation. Similarly, Badshah is trying to do the same. Now, by that point, nobody had pointed out that he had bought any views, which, by the way, still hasn't been proved. He still says it's Google ads, and he's shown receipts for it. So I got trolled for that, and I was called everything possible, from slut in Hindi to my mother being called something, my father being called something. And I used to get about 4,000 messages in a day. On Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. after about a month and a half, it kind of died down. I did say that I didn't care much for the teeny bop music. I have been a teeny bopper at one point, but I've moved on from that phase of my life. And I just feel like just because something is famous doesn't mean it's better than what we are doing. I think my argument at that point was just that. After which, Badshah's topic came up again this year with, I think, the police interviewing him. And then again, it was blown out of proportion. These guys came and again started bullying me. I had already left Twitter by then. 4 to 5 months ago, I quit Twitter.
Why?
In general, not because of...
Why?
I think the same thing that... I think the same reason that you said. I feel like, number one, I feel like I'm becoming a more negative person being on Twitter. You know, whenever I have something to rant about, I'm also doing the same that everyone else is doing because I'm getting really smudged. I'm not holding my own on that platform. I have nothing... Whatever I have to say, nobody wants to hear. And all the things that I shouldn't be saying, I'm saying on that platform. So first, I think I'm going to take responsibility for that. So hence, I left. And secondly, everything...
Come back to it. You know why? You know why? Not because I'm advocating for the platform, but because you shouldn't give anyone else the satisfaction of ousting you from a platform. You shouldn't feel bullied into leaving a platform.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. So... Then they started tracking me on my Instagram, which was a very happy place, where we had by far not as much bullying. I did have that random DM of people sending me their body parts and stuff like that and whatever, the same slut shaming. Yeah, shit like that. But on Instagram, these guys
I want you to pause there because nude pictures are a form of sexual violence. They're not a small thing. And in India, women are so we're almost numbed by the daily assault. It is a daily assault that we've learned to laugh at things that are just horrible.
I mean, I've thrown stones at men on the road when I was like 15 for jacking off in school. So it's not about, you're right. I think people have just started saying, oh, men will be men. But again, the whole anger bit which you're talking about, I think it comes from seeing a lot and just being privy to it without, being able to really do something about it. Oh, sorry, should I go back to the... So the Instagram bit, first of all, let me tell you, a lot of these children were girls, young girls, 13, 14, 15, 12, 10-year-olds. Some of them were boys, but mostly they were all women, young girls, the future of our country, abusing me day in and day out, threatening me, threatening my manager, threatening my mother, threatening my husband, threatening my brother, anybody who stood up for me, telling people that we are not good enough to be anything. We're just riding on the fame of BTS, showing us how many numbers we have versus how many numbers they have, telling us that we're unworthy, telling us that we suck, like everything possible, every day, same parroting messages, day in and day out, from my DMs to my... Any picture, if I would just put a picture with you, they would troll that, they would troll you, they would show you your place, my place. So it was like they crossed every line possible. Once I put a cyber complaint, they also said that the Mumbai police is sold out. And hence, because I'm from Bollywood, so hence they're taking the same jargon, all of that. And but what's fun? That they've almost stopped. And they are now scared. They know that I'm not somebody who's going to sit down and take this. I recently did an interview, and though I didn't want to talk about it, like you just said, I didn't want to be bullied into not talking about what happened to me, because this is not about a fandom per se. This is not about who's good in that fandom and who's not. This is about a community of bullying and them normalizing it. Dare I have an opinion about BTS, you're going to come and slash my throat. There was a proper video where they said that they were going to get inside my house, 6, 7 of them, and rape me, find me on the road and slap the shit out of me. They said that I should hang myself, and though Sushant was important and at least somebody cared for his body, nobody would care for mine, and that even my parents should die. So my point is, how is it not bullying? I don't understand that. How is this normal? How are they still asking me to apologize? It's something that I just... Yeah. So this is what even political communities do, right? I'm saying it just breaks down to now it's happening in the pop industry. Yeah. There you have a political opinion, it happens to you. I mean, there you wear something sexy, it happens to you. So my point is, where is the voice?
Yeah. How did you process this? How did you process it when it was happening to you, right? How did you go through multiple emotions? Did you go through some fear? Was there rage? What was it? All of the above?
I think it was all of the above. There was a lot of anger in me. I'm not going to deny that there was some fear. I think the fear was of that they are basically, so I've really worked hard to keep my image a certain way, that I've kept out of the scandals and I've kept out of unnecessary getting into people's business. I've just been an artist. I've enjoyed that part of my life, and suddenly I was being, I don't know, shown in a certain light which I didn't like. I didn't like it. I was sad. I did cry a lot. I'm not going to lie. Because I think for me, that what really hurt me was when they started bullying the post, which was about my dad, because I was in a very sensitive place at that point. It was his birthday after 2 years. And it is the biggest loss of my life. And it is personal for me. And I don't want, I just, I don't know what to say, but yeah, it did hurt me a lot. It hurt my family a lot. And my problem is I'm the kind of person, I'm very reactive by nature. If somebody says something to me, I would actually run after them and grab their throat. So the fact that I couldn't do anything about it made me really, really angry. And hence I made the complaint, and hence I followed up on the case, and hence we sent the summons to the families. They were all kids. Again, I mean, my point is that these guys were 18, they would be behind bars.
Was anyone punished?
Well, not yet.
That's the other thing, right? The reason that women don't complain is it takes forever. It takes more of a toll on you. And then you normalize it in some ways for yourself. Where are you now with it mentally? Was the song born from that rage?
I said this. I think the song was born from a space of catharsis, like just coming finally to the point wherein I don't care about you, like what you just said, to just develop this thick skin and say that I'm going to still be who I am. You can love me, you can hate me. I've come alone in this world, I'm going to go alone, but you know what? I'm not going to be whoever you want me to be. I'm going to be who I want to be. So I think it's come from that space, more, less anger, more get lost, shut up, and everything you said to me, back to you into millions.
Yeah, I'll come back to the song, but I want to take you back to another point in your life when you did speak out, which was the Me Too movement, right? You called out Anu Malik. You said he was a sexual predator. You said that you were very young, in your 20s, when he had been inappropriate and a predator with you. And he's still around, right? He's still this man who's there. Nothing happened to him. There were people like yourself, Sona Mahapatra, and others who spoke up. Now there's this inflection point in your industry for the Me Too movement. There's, it's a deeply volatile conversation. You have the whole Payal Ghosh allegations and all of that happening. Today, when you look back at all of it, what would you say? What would you say to what you experienced and what you're seeing happening all around you?
See, thankfully with me, I ran away at the nick of time, because being a Delhi girl, I've seen this so much on the road since I was 9 years old, that my radars are really, really strong. And a very large part of the reason why initially I didn't have a lot of work is because I didn't want to socialize. And I wanted to stay away because of situations like that. Exactly. This was right at the beginning of my career. But I've met many men like him who have just about tried, never touched me. But and I've kind of run away. But again, what that did is it also limited my opportunities to want to work with them, just because I didn't want to be.
It's like saying, don't do this journalistic assignment because you'll have to stay out late. And if you stay out late, it's not safe for you. Why the hell? That is restricting my choices and my dreams. So why should you have to run away?
I have to tell you one more thing, which I think I've never spoken about. I mean, I've spoken about it, but never on camera. Is that when we were in Viva, we were once told we were going to meet these famous music directors, and we were all told to buy. We were all made to buy salwar kameez, and told that they're a bit. Now I'm like, if this happened to me today, I will box somebody. So they made us buy salwar kameez, and they told us that sit away from them because they're a bit, creepy. And like you said, it was so normal. It was so normal for them. And you have to understand, we are 19 and 18, and we've just been signed on a contract, and we're away from our family. So we're just doing as we're told. So we all wore salwar kameez, and we sat really away from them. And even after that, one of us kept getting slapped on their thighs. "Kya bahut acha gaate hain, aap bahut acha gaate hain."
And as if women who wear salwar kameezes do not get sexually assaulted or violated. I mean, this is just crap, right? But come back to Anu Malik. You were talking about Anu Malik, and
Yes.
we started there. Yeah.
I think it's terrible that people like Anu Malik have been around for so many years. I don't care for his talent. I don't care how brilliant he may be, what people think. My point is, I think he's a treacherous human being, and I think he has used his ugly ways with people for so many years, with so many women. We've heard about so many stories, starting from Alicia. After that, I'm so shocked that he was the judge of Indian Idol last year. I'm just really happy that they didn't bring him on this year because, man, I was ready to put on a fight because I was like, I only spoke up. I'll be honest with you. I only spoke up because I really felt that maybe my voice would matter, and I wasn't sure it would, but actually it kind of propelled the momentum a little bit more. So I'll tell you what happened to me. I went to meet him. So right at the beginning of just right after Viva, we already sung one song with him with the band. So I knew him, but I knew him as a member of Viva. So I felt safe to meet him. I went to a studio. I don't remember which one this was because I was very new at that point. And somebody told me, go and wait upstairs in a waiting room, which was, I think, the dubbing room. So I waited there for about 15 minutes. He walks in. I was sitting across from him. And he lied down on the sofa, kind of sprawled fully like this, and lie down on the bed, not bed, the sofa. And he's like, "और बता नेहा तू कैसी है? तेरी आंखों में ना कुछ जादू है, कुछ magic है. तेरी आंखें मुझे कुछ बोलती हैं." And I'm like, why is he talking about my eyes? It just felt, he felt exactly like the creepy uncle who lived right next door to me, who would always try to grab my hand or, give us that "beta tum kitne pyare ho" wali, that puppy which I used to, I actually pushed this man once. And told him कि आज के बाद मेरे को छूना मत. So I was that kid. So I knew very well that if this guy tries to come on to me, I'm going to box him. So before he could make any advances, he said a lot of things. I said, I need to leave. My mom's waiting downstairs. After which he calls me and says, तेरी आंखें ना मेरे दिमाग से जा नहीं रही हैं. कुछ तो तेरे में बात है, कुछ तो तेरे में बात है. The way. And then my mom's sitting right next to me, and I'm like, what's wrong with this man? He's double my age. But yeah, he's done this to many people. Because of which I never met him again. I never worked with him. I never called him. And I never called anybody like him. So my point is, I know that what Anu Malik is capable of. I could feel his creepiness crawling all over me that day.
Do you feel like your voice mattered in the end? I was talking to Tanushri Datta the other day, who also sort of brought forth Me Too allegations against Nana Patekar. And she was absolutely crushed. And she said, in the end, it didn't amount to anything. So looking back, are you glad you spoke out? Or do you wish you'd remain silent? Not because I'd ever advocate silence, but I'm just trying to understand what you feel.
I feel really sorry that if Tanushri's case didn't get solved, but I am actually really, really glad that I spoke up. I do think it made a difference. I don't know if it was just me in the end speaking or it was the collective force of everybody. I'm sure it was the collective force, but like I said, because I've never ever had the image of doing something like this or putting an allegation that's strong on somebody, I think that people took it seriously. And I kept tweeting about it. I kept talking about it. Sona kept doing it. Shweta Pandit kept doing it. In fact, Shweta Pandit went through something really bad with him and she got massively trolled for it. And the writer Samir said some really creepy things again about her. But eventually he was taken off the stage of Indian Idol, and that's what we wanted. We wanted him to not be around children. I don't think that, I've met exploitative people at the start of my career and people who were at very important positions. And I don't want that to happen to the new generation. As people say that rather than putting the virtue of being a good girl on my shoulder, they much rather protect the new generation with what we can do. And I think it was very important for me to speak up. And I'm very happy that he was taken off that stage. And I really hope that they don't bring him back.
Yeah. Talking about good girls, by the way, I have a 6-year-old niece and I made her take a pledge to be a bad girl forever. So, good girls seldom make history, as they say. I want to ask you in the end, what has been the toughest thing to be a female in your space? The toughest thing about finding that female voice? The toughest thing about being heard and acknowledged? What has been the toughest part of your journey thus far?
I think just being a woman, it just being a woman has been the toughest. I really feel that it's not easy. I'm not trying to play the feminist card, but
It's okay
been really tough
it's okay to play the feminist card given the cards men play. Or
No, I tell you why.
misogynistic women
Because
play as well, because both sides are
yeah,
in a way products of patriarchy, right?
exactly. Because I've met some great men. My husband is a great man. He lets me
Sure.
be, and we're such equals. So there are some great men. I'm not denying that. But just generally being taken seriously as a woman, without having to, like, again, I know I'm going on saying that, without being the Sati Savitri, just me being me has been so tough. Like, to be understood. Like, I feel for the massive part of my career, I've been very misunderstood. Uh, I've been seen a certain way, a way that I don't feel I am. Never given a chance to really see me for who I am. So it's like either I have to be a great singer to be taken seriously, or I have to sing certain kind of song to be taken seriously, or I have to buy certain kind of clothes to be taken seriously. But just to be me has been really tough. But I'm happy that I kept my soul intact. I've met people along the way who are nice people, good people, people who are supportive. And I think today I'm fine. I still feel the pinch. I'm not gonna lie. I still feel the pinch sometimes, like when I release a song. So okay, for example, when a guy sings Banja Meri Laila, Banja Meri Rani, Naach Meri Laila, Naach Meri Rani, chocolate hai tu, sabzi market hai, nobody says anything to them. People are dancing, men, women, children. It really hurts me. It breaks my heart that ये कैसे okay है? मतलब ये, how is this not sexualizing women? How is this not objectifying women? How is this? I don't want to be a fruit, for heaven's sake, but that's normal for people. For some reason, that's normal. People have been dancing on the Chikni Chamelis for years. I don't find it normal, but I don't have a problem with it. Like I said, you made a space for yourself. Let me make a space for me, and give me 100% shot to be authentic, and just, yeah, accept women like me. Let's pave the way for women like me. So I think that's still a little heartbreaking. I'm still not that thick-skinned yet.
Yeah. Is there something you would have done? Is there something you would have done in your 20s that you wouldn't do today, as a feminist, as a strong female voice?
I think I wouldn't have hidden as much. I think I would do something and then I would get trolled for it. I would hide for a few years and then I would get angry and come back. I think I wouldn't hide as much. I think I would be even more fearless. I would not waste so much time, curling in bed and crying over why people don't like me. I'd worry about that a little less. So yeah.
I'll share a secret with you. As you get older, it gets much easier to not hide. It just really does get much easier. Okay, look, we heard your song in the beginning. I want you to share a little bit of it for all the young women out there, or even older women who may be getting trolled. Just a little bit of it before we let you go.
Okay. So I also have to tell you that this song is for the men, women, for the LGBTQ community, for everybody who wants to own it and just be themselves.
Not just for women, because anyway, gender and sexuality are fluid, and we know that.
Yes.
Go for it.
Yes. Kende rende ne, kyon kende rende ne, kende rende ne, kyon kende rende ne. दिल विच जो आ जांदा है बस कहंदे रहंदे ने मुंह विच जो आ जांदा है बस कहंदे रहंदे ने तू इंज न कर तू उंज न कर सुन कुड़िए ज्यादा उड़िया न कर लोकां दी ना है चंगी नजर बस कहंदे रहंदे ने तू हर वेले कहंदे रहंदे ने मुंह विच जो आ जांदा है बस कहंदे रहंदे ने.
Here's to more outspoken women. I'm a fellow Punjabi, so I got that totally. And I hope more and more women and men and everybody speaks their mind. I think what you really hit upon was that space to be yourself. If people just said what they felt like without hurting someone else, offending someone else, I think that's what it's all about. Thank you. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you so
really
much.
Enjoyed talking to
I love you.
Thanks,
and thank you for paving the way for us women. And I wanted to tell you, you have the cutest smile ever. I never noticed that before.
maybe I need to laugh and smile a lot more.
You do. You look so cute. Not even pretty. You look cute. You look like a little child. Like, you look beautiful.
Thank you, Neha.
Thank you so
and take
much.
care. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, Neha. Thanks.
Bye.